Southern Free! Live from the shed!
All right, welcome back. For those that were with us earlier, maybe you're new to us tonight or new the first time you've listened today. That's all good as well. Southern Patriots Soundstage or Southern Fried Soundstage, either way, it all works. Been covering bands. Tonight we're going to look at a lot. We're going to switch it up. We're still going to be covering bands in the future shows. But we're going to look, well, we always look at the three albums from Dave's Vault. We got three new candidates tonight. We'll talk about them. And we're going to look at the year 1987. 1987, it was a great year for music. Now, all of it's rock, but most of it that I'm going to talk about tonight will be. And we'll fill the, we'll talk about that great year in music. It was a really iconic year. There's a couple of 3 years around in the mid to late 80s and early 90s that were really iconic. I mean, massive albums, tons of sales, more than people had ever seen, maybe almost never, with the exception of a couple of albums previously. People thought rock was dead. In fact, there was a song written, rock is not dead. I mean, you can still rock in America. Remember that? So that was, there was a time where it suffered. Late 70s, disco era, this new wave of British stuff. Some of it was okay, some of it was horrible. And it really didn't get kicking again until the early, really almost the middle of the 80s. There was a few albums around 82, 83, but then it's like it inspired a lot of people to go forward and write a lot of great music and just really capture that. It was a great time to go to amphitheaters and stuff. And that's really what the intro song for the show is supposed to mimic, is that didn't matter who the band was, that opening number, just getting the crowd pumped up, the band coming out, nice summer eve, love amphitheaters, except when it's extremely hot or if you get bad weather, but they're great. It's a great time to go. You got a little, you can stand, you can sit on the grass in the back, or you can find, if you have a seat, then you can sit in the seat. So I've done all of those. Love, been to many amphitheaters, small to large. But that's the premise. And so we're going to look at 1987 tonight. We've looked at Tesla, we've looked at Def Leppard in depth. Last week we looked at Aerosmith, and we'll continue to do that. We have tons of bands and stuff to go back to, even with the bands I've already covered. So we have tons we're going to talk about. And really, it's meant to be a little bit of historical. It's meant to be your things you like, didn't like, what music you like. Everybody's different. Don't have to agree on everything. That's what's great about it. Even if it's your favorite band, people disagree. People disagree about what they like or they don't like about certain groups, or they just don't even like the group at all. And that's okay too. I mean, for instance, this is, listen, it always kills me, but there's nothing you can do to change it. I try to appreciate every band most bands go through, or solo artists, duos, it doesn't really matter. Most of them go through a time period where, if they're really successful, where they're growing, sometimes they come out of the box hot and stay that way, but everybody has the up, the peak, and maybe a little bit of this, but you get older and they just do the tours. They quit writing music. Some of the bands have started getting heavy with that again, but these days are different. They don't release albums like they used to, although some have done well. Megadeth, for example, has done well with the release of their last album. Frontiers is on them. They went to #1. So, hey, Doss, some people still make them, and people do buy them as far as music and whatever format that is. But some bands just release singles now, or make singles, or a couple EPs kind of deal, but some still go the whole album route, and there's some classic artists that do that. So I miss the days of the albums that have come back. They still make them again, and they put them out there, and I think that's great. There is always that album day, and it's a big seller. A lot of people, when I was doing security for the bookstore, it was always a great sell day for them. Very busy album. So again, some of these I have a little bit more. Now, sometimes I bought an album and I didn't see a band. That was rare, but tonight I didn't see any of these bands live, or any of these groups, or a group and a solo artist. Well, kind of a band. It's a solo artist with a band. Great band. Really top band. I did not see these live. Most of the stuff that I have music for, not all, but most, I saw in concert. Now, I've seen them on video, TV, download, whatever, YouTube, but it's not the same, I know. But some cases, it just, the timing didn't work out. And I went to a lot of shows. So tonight, as we look at these albums, this is a rarity. I didn't pick them out for that. I just realized that I had never seen any of these groups live, which is sad. There is a handful that I missed. And I always talk about it, and without even realizing it, I grabbed 3 that I had not even seen. So without further ado, and then we'll get into our topic tonight, let's look at 3 albums from Dave's Vault. Now, one of the groups I really liked, and still like, and, love AC/DC. And I've always been a big fan of Bon Scott. It's not a dislike of Brian Johnson. I like him. But if you give him my preference, it's Bon. Bon was just unique and special. And there was just something about him that I really liked. I liked his voice. I liked his stage presence. He just had, it was just something about him. It's really hard to say. Sad, short life. I mean, he lived in his 30s, but because he'd been playing for a while before he hooked up with the Youngs. And I think 3 other bands, at least 2, maybe 3 other bands. And when they hooked up, it took them a while. They worked their butts off and they came big. He died. Brian Johnson took over. Of course, we've talked about the whole who really wrote Back in Black. We'll not go there tonight. They went through For Those About to Rock, which was a good album, not great. A lot of controversy there. The band didn't want to work with Mutt no more. He had made them really successful. I don't know why it went off the rails. I just think they were wanting to get process quicker. I could be wrong. I think they were running out of ideas. I think they just drained the notes and they ran out of ideas. And so you started getting some albums that weren't really that good. This album tonight I like the album cover. By the way, when we cover albums, it's not just the music. Sometimes it was just the album cover that was really good. I mean, I bought albums that had great album covers, didn't like the music, or it was fair. This album is okay. It's not great. By far, it's not great. But there's a couple of there's a couple of things on here that I like. But it is a great album cover. It is the Blow Up Your Video album. Angus Young coming through. That's a pretty cool album cover. I like that. The back of it has some broken wiring and stuff and a little sparking going on. I can get that, like a TV blowing up and stuff. This one was produced, again, by the Youngs, Harry and George. They obviously went back to the original Brain Trust. Mutt was with them for 3 albums. 3 albums, if I remember right. Highway, Back in Black, For Those About to Rock. There might have been one more in there. I think there was. Anyway, 3 for sure. Then he went on and worked with Def Leppard. Tons of people. Bryan Adams, you name it. Great album cover, not a great album. They got in the videos. This is a video age, so a lot of stuff went in the videos. And if you're an AC/DC fan, you probably know songs off of this. If you're not a huge fan, a nominal fan, somebody that knows some of their songs, you're not going to know a song off this album. And I was sitting here looking. I don't think that on Hair Nation or anything that plays that I don't think that any of these ever make the cut. Honestly, it is open. I did play it. Obviously, I opened it up and played it on the turntable, of which back in those days I definitely had. It is in pretty good shape. And so it's Atlantic Records, by the way. They were still with a very well-known record label. And they still listen, there was a touring band, so they could put out remakes and misses, and they would go out and sell out everywhere they went because they're a live band. They're still out there getting it with part of their, the longtime members and then some new ones. So, but when you name these songs, and again, it got weak. It got really weak. The writing got weak. It got very. Bon Scott was so good at writing stuff that was just really amazing. A little turn of cheek, a little turn of phrase. He was just a master at that. And Brian was just straight on. He's a party guy. I mean, he's a good guy. I like him. But he quit writing it, by the way. And I was trying to look and see. I didn't look this one up, but I'd have to look it up online. On this one they do have it. It is still written by the Youngs with Brian Johnson. It wasn't long after this Brian Johnson quit writing songs. I don't know how much he ever came up with, to be honest. But he, at one point, somebody got his Wheaties because he said, "I'm not going to write anymore," and he didn't. And he left that up to the Youngs. So I just think they really dried up material. They toured a lot. They come off the road, hit an album, go. I just think they dried up. If you like AC/DC, you're going to like the cuts because it's AC/DC, but it's not a great album. Heat Seeker, I've heard, that one I've, heard back in the day. That's the way I want to rock and roll. But, Mean Street Goes On, Kissin' Dynamite. I mean, nobody really, not great songs. Nick of Time, Some Sin for Nothing, Rough Stuff. Remember that one? Two's Up, This Means War. This would never be in my top 10, ever. Again, it's not a knock. Some bands just have off albums. It's still, they have that classic sound. So even though it's a little weaker, it's very weaker compared to the other stuff. It's still got that sound. So you put it on, you go listen to it, but it doesn't stand out except this, the album cover. It stands out better than some of the other ones they have. But as far as you take every album they had all the way through, for those about to rock, this album can't touch any of that. None of it. It can't touch Thunderstruck. It can't touch any of those. It's okay. It's something to get out there to go back on the road, but there it is. I have not listened to this album in decades, to be honest with you. It's been in my vault, and I don't listen. If I'm going to pull out something to listen to, it wouldn't be that one. Of course, every day now it's digital. A lot of stuff is anyway. Let's go. I'm going to come back to that one and go to again another band and it is a band because they've been together a long time. I think a member might have changed here and there, but this was a breakthrough album. There's something peeling there, and this versus what we just seen, this was a massive hit. Hey Brent, how you doing? Howdy. So this album, which is Billy Idol, massive album, whereas the AC/DC one from Dave's Vault, this one, never pull it out. It stays in the vault. This one, to this day, a lot of the songs hold up. Now, even if you're not a huge Billy Idol fan, I mean, I didn't care for the look sometimes, a little punk stuff and all that, but I'm a big fan of this dude, Steve Stevens. Huge fan. Love his playing. Amazing. Yeah, love your vinyl? Absolutely. You have to come on show me some night and we'll compare. Of course, Rebel Yell, which there's a story behind that. All songs have stories behind them. And I love how that one came about to be. Daytime Drama, I don't remember, but Eyes Without a Face, one of my favorite Billy Idol songs. Actually, there's two on here that I would and I'm not putting down Rebel Yell, but I would listen to before I listen to Rebel Yell. I just like the songs. And this, again, the 80s, were good to me. I really liked it. I went to pick up my granddaughter. I was coming back, and I was describing a couple of songs, even different eras. And of course, she thinks all my music is like 1910 or something, so she doesn't get into it. But we talk music a little bit. Eyes Without a Face, Blue Highway, not remembering that one. Flesh for Fantasy, one of the best grooves ever. But again, I credit the songwriting and the performance, all that. Billy, this dude's the key. I'm telling you, love the work that he come up with on the guitar and stuff. And let me say as an aside, his work he did on the Vince Neil solo album, great. I saw them in concert. Good stuff there. He was that album. He should have done some more solo stuff. I believe it was a good show. He opened up for two other bands because they were. But I was like third row. I'm right in front of the stage. I got to see Vince Neil and Steve Stevens together, and that was a really good album. But Flash for Fantasy, Catch My Fall, Crank Call, Do Not Stand in the Shadows, The Dead Next Door. The three songs that stand out, obviously, are Rebel Yell, huge hit. But all these were Eyes Without a Face, Flash for Fantasy, again, the video age. The video helped drive it. This is a great album cover. I mean, it has a great look. Rebel Yell, if you're just looking at fully owned from an album cover, you got Steve on the back, got some different. But this one has where you just usually get the crappy insert. This one has a whole nother look that you don't normally see. So I give him credit for not only giving a great cover, and then on the back you have all the info on the inside jacket too, and I like that. So you get little pieces of all the songs on here. A little different, like Flesh for Fantasy, Cries the New World to Me, Do You Like Good Music, Do You Want to Dance? So they took like a little line from each song. You don't normally see that. Then they give the album listings again, produced by Keith Forsley. I'm not even familiar with Forsey. I'm not familiar with him. And it had, all the stuff on the inside, whereas on this album cover, they did very little on the back. They just left it for the picture. They put all that on the back side of the insert, which is pretty cool. So again, some don't know who took the picture, but if you're a Billy Idol fan, even if you're not, that's a colorful album. There's a lot of color in the album. It really, the lighting and everything that, they did a lot of work with that one. So Billy Idol, Steve Stevens, amazing. Love to listen to that guy play. A big fan. Now, I got to admit, sometimes he got out there a little bit in the playing with. It's kind of like I don't know who ripped who off because you got Steve Stevens with a little toy I don't know what you call it, Martian gun or whatever, all the crazy sounds that he did on the guitar. And Eddie Van Halen did it with a drill. I'll be honest with you, I'm not a fan of any of that, but I like the song that and he did that on Vince Neil's album. You had, oh man, I can't remember the name of the songs right now, and I know them. Sister, um, Pain. God, what is the name of that song that they played all the time? I went blank. So anyway, um, this is an interesting tidbit that I got somewhere, and I don't remember where I got it, to be honest. And again, as I said at the beginning, these are all bands that I never got to see. Of all the bands I saw, I never saw these guys. And it is, some people love the album, some people don't. But hey, it's Van Halen. So, cool beans. And I like Van Halen. Fair warning. This album, though, is not one that was sold in stores. I probably got this. I don't remember where I got it. I may have bought it at a vinyl store, though. But this one, this was not supposed to be sold in the stores. Of course, produced by Ted Templeton. Mean Street is the song that most people are going to join with. Great song. They still play it. So This Is Love, another great song. Sorry, somebody's trying to call me if you're hearing that. Push Comes to Shove, Center Swing, Unchained, Dirty Moves, Hear About It Later, Sunday, After the Park, One Foot Out the Door. Kind of an unusual album cover. I will say this, Van Halen never did have, to me, except for a couple of times, they didn't have great album covers. I don't know why. It just didn't seem like to me that they had that. And I don't know. It just didn't work. And so this one, and you got the back. It's okay. I'll be honest, it doesn't stand out to me. However, the insert is pretty cool. At least you get the classic look. You get the classic look, classic band. And on the back, a little bit of stuff. But honestly, that should have been the cover to me. In my opinion. It's their deal. I am a big Van Halen guy. If you're not, broski, I don't care. Do I like everything they did? No. I'll be honest. There's things that I don't like that they did, and I'm not sure. Give me just 1 second. I'm getting a call coming in. I have to take, and I apologize. And I'm going to put on a song here just for a second and take this call. I'll be right back. Hang with me. I promise it won't be, but just a minute. Let me put this on. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Sorry. I had to take that. That as usual happened, but had to take it. So we're back. And it let me realize that I had muted the MP3. So they're probably thinking, what are you doing? So probably I'll have to delete that. It happens. You're pulling everything up and you're like, okay. So I just realized that I had done that. So, or maybe I muted it and then just ended it. I don't know. But anyway, this one's worth. They should have put that on the album cover. That's 3 albums from Dave's Vault, and so it is what it is. And let me get over here and pull this back to where it needs to be. It'll be a 2-parter here, and let me just pull that back up. Make sure everything's good, and we'll go. Things happen. All right. Part one, part two. There we go. All right. The year is 1987. The year is 1987. A great year. Beginning what I think there was a few things before that. A few things before that that were pretty good. I wouldn't say great. Is 80s hard rock my favorite genre? Probably because I was a teenager at the beginning of the 80s. And I was 15 at the beginning and 25 at the end. And hey, I went to a lot of concerts in the 80s, a lot of concerts. I never went to a concert I wasn't allowed to before 1984, 3, 4. I went to a couple of festivals locally in 83, I think. And then really when me and my wife got married, we went to a lot of shows. I was grown on my own. In 83, I was 18. So around the time I was a little bit there, 84, it picked up a little bit, but not much. But around 87 was when I really started hammering down on concerts. And it went all the way into the early 90s. And then my life changed, just didn't go much anymore. And, now you can't afford to go, but but I want to look at some of the now some of these are not rock albums, but I want to talk the year that was. This is not a complete list because there's so much that's released every year, but this was a massive decade or year, excuse me, for music. U2 had the Joshua Tree, amazing. I mean, massive. The videos played a lot. Big seller. They had those big tours back then. U2 owned the touring. I mean, meaning they made tons of money. I had been listening to YouTube back before they kind of getting this. I was listening to them back when people didn't even know who they were. A lot of people didn't. I'm not saying I was there first because I wasn't, but I did. I did listen to them, and I like some of their songs. I never saw U2 in concert. I won't say they like everything they did because I didn't, but they have some songs that I like, and it was a great album. It was a massive album. Then, like Broski was saying, Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction was a game changer. And I don't even care if people like Guns N' Roses. That album, for its raw intensity, brought the edge back. Even though the early videos, they were still in their glam look, which sucked. I'm sorry, it did. Appetite, my gosh. But it was presented in such a way, the music was so good you could overlook that. A lot of the groups were still in that glam phase around that time, and we're starting to come out of it and just go more raw rock look. They were trying to find themselves. Once that album came out, they had found themselves. Again, another massive, massive album. There's not a bad song on the album. Wow. Every song on there still plays. And it really, no matter what else they did, but this was when you go to 91, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. He had other things, and that was a massive album or albums. But Appetite was the one. If you could ever see the New York show that they did in the club, best concert ever. No frills, no lasers, cannons, just young, early, hungry, starving, just trying to hit it and get going. Sure, they were probably doing everything under the sun, but that concert that's the epitome of what they were. The raw power that it whooped everybody's butt for that. I mean, massive, massive work. And to me, it's there were songs that didn't even make the cut that came back later that are really good songs. I mean, killer. The early, some of the stuff on Illusion goes all the way back, even before Appetite. They wrote a lot of songs, and a lot of them were well deserving, but you couldn't mess with this. And like I said, it was a massive, massive album. Another one that was really big was Prince, Sign of the Times. Some say the greatest album ever. Hey there. Thank you. Listen, Prince was, and I was thinking about this today. I heard on the Sellout Radio. A Prince song came on, and what Prince had the ability to do was bridge the gap between different kinds of music. He bridged it really well, and he brought in people that were rockers into his music because of his guitar playing, and they had a great stage presence. They had all those artists and people playing behind him, the girls, all those characters that had their own shtick. I mean, people who knew who they were. And let's face it, Prince was a genius. He's a genius he could do it all. If he could have morphed himself into 5 people, he would have just played everything and did everything, because that's what he could do. He could sing, dance, play, everything. He was a prolific songwriter. He was amazing on stage. I never saw him in concert, but I watched a lot of his stuff. And, it's sad, his ending, I'll say that. But another massive album. 87 rocked. Let's see here. The Michael Jackson, whether you like him or not, Bad, of course, the follow-up to Thriller, was still a massive hit. A huge concert tour, lots of album sales. These record companies were soaking all this up, man. They were just killing it in 87. And yeah, they had a lot invested in some of these, but Michael had already made them a ton of money, a boatload of money. And then he comes back and listen, there were some songs on there that was okay. He started getting a little creepy around that time to me. Some weird things started happening, but great entertainer. And he really, again, was another one that kind of bridged the gap between sometimes different with people, different musical taste and styles, and even the races. I think that they were sort of his music was on all these different formats, just like Prince's was. Pretty amazing. Oh, absolutely, man. I agree with every bit of that. I heard Little Red Corvette today. That's the song. And I was just thinking about the show tonight. I was thinking, wow, what an artist. Okay, then I heard Phil Collins today for Def Leppard. We know that 87 Hysteria come back, the 4-year gap, 83 to 87. We know all the stuff about it. In America alone, this album in America alone, Phil was talking about today on Sellout Radio, or it was a tape thing, 13 million albums sold. Think about that, 13 million albums sold just in the United States of America. That's where that's at. Between the U.S. and Canada, chalk that up to about 15 million plus. Again, every song on the album was intended to be built like it could be a single, but also trying to change the game in a different way. It did, because their style is not like Guns. They were more like, trying to make a game change like Queen. Queen was always sort of reinventing themselves, and that's kind of where they kind of saw themselves a little bit. An amalgamation between Queen and some other influences that they had from English to America and blues, even because every part of the band had a different taste. And of course, Mutt Lange produced. Massive album. Just on those albums alone, some people got very rich. All right, dominated, and all these dominated MTV. Every one of those I've mentioned, every one of those artists dominated MTV. And the next guy that I'm going to mention, he may have dominated more than any of them. It was George Michael and the Faith album. Wow. I mean, again, this was his solo triumph. Remember, he was with Wham. And listen, I don't care about the whole other stuff. Just talking about it purely from a musical perspective, the Faith album, I mean, those videos were classics. They still play all those songs today, all the hits. And of course, he was, huge sex appeal to many. Very talented guy, great voice, a great range. Had a kind of a kinship with Freddie Mercury because of his range. And of course, obviously he was going to be chosen when Freddie passed to come in and be a big part of that concert, celebration for Queen and for Freddie Mercury. And he certainly did. And I can still remember him standing there in the blue jeans, the boots, the leather jacket. I mean, that it stands the test of time. I mean, he always had beautiful women in his videos and stuff. They knew how to market this dude. Definitely. I didn't buy the Faith album. I never had that. I had all these others except for I don't know if I had Sign of the Times or not. All the other ones I didn't have Joshua Tree. I might have had singles from them, but I didn't have the album. A group from Atlanta, GA, or at least they became famous from, Athens, GA, was REM. I can say that I never liked them at all. I was never a fan, but they were big in the college music scene, which Athens always has had a big music scene. The B-52s come out of there, some other ones. I'm not putting them down. It just wasn't my cup of tea. I never listened to REM, but the Document was a big breakthrough for them. The one I love was the hit off of that album. They still play that song. So, and I don't know what it sold, but it was pretty massive. Again, a huge, huge 87 release. You mentioned it earlier. INXS, Kick. I never was really into INXS. I saw them on video. It was kind of okay. This album, Kick, changed my mind. There was Need You Tonight and some of the other songs off that. Really universally liked all across the world. Some bands are more regional, maybe some countries. INXS, like many of these were global artists, not just maybe REM, maybe more regional a little bit, but this global appreciation for these bands went all across the world. And you could be in the middle of Africa and somebody would have known who INXS was. When Doves Cry and Cream are my favorite Prince songs. Okay. When Doves Cry is a great song. A lot of videos, they were in their prime. They looked great. The leather jackets. They had interesting videos. INXS, it's a shame what happened there. Absolutely, it's a shame. They had a lot more to give, and it just really all died with him. So just never was really ever even considered to be anywhere close. No matter what they tried to do, it just never. And a really great band really ceased to exist in any kind of powerful way ever since then. So huge. Not a huge fan. Now, some of these I'm going to mention, not on that level, but they were definitely huge. Now, maybe one of these is, maybe even a couple of them. Well, I might have to back up because there's some huge. I'm not a fan of all these. Some of them are. I am. Whitney Houston had Whitney. It debuted at number one, had 4 number one singles. Whitney Houston was definitely stepping out really strong back in those days, was a superstar. Sonic Youth had Sister. I was never really a Sonic Youth fan. I did like maybe one song, but never really was into Sonic Youth. The Smiths, big release for them, Strange Ways, Here We Come. Their final, and some say maybe their best album. I was never a Smiths fan. I'm not putting down if you like any of these people. It just wasn't for me. I do like a little Depeche Mode, and they had a release that year too, Music for the Masses. It wasn't a huge album, I don't believe, but it did lead them to bigger things. Depeche Mode. In fact, Leopard on one of their tours, because they redid one of the Depeche Mode songs, and they used to play that. I think it was on the big arena tour with Motley. I think that's the song that they played as they did the countdown on the clock that the show was fixing to start, was one of their Depeche Mode songs. I don't know that they ever were as big in America as they were overseas, but Depeche Mode is certainly huge around the world. And a lot of groups got influenced by them. They liked a lot of the stuff they did. Of course, again, a lot of synthesizers, a lot of different kinds of stuff. If that's not your deal, I get it. Broski says, I have a killer 80s pop list I made on Spotify. It's a great decade for music. Public Enemy, I was not a fan. I'm not putting them down, but a huge release by them. Yo, Bum Rush the Show was the name of the album. I never had it, never listened to it, but it was their debut and huge. Now, Aerosmith, the comeback with Permanent Vacation after having some troubling times, was another big album, led to some bigger things. That also was in the 87 release. I definitely liked the album. Somewhere along the line, I think I bought it on CD or cassette. I don't think I ever had the album for that. I have the album for Pump, but I don't think I ever had the album for Permanent Vacation. Um, I never liked The Cure, Robert Smith, and I know that a lot of people do and did. Oh, it's 3 hours, 54 minutes long, so nearly 4 hours of music. There you go. I used to work with a friend. In fact, we still work together. He's been at my company or our company about 6 months before me. A great guy. He used to really be into what I call bands like REM, The Smiths, The Cure. Uh, some of those bands. It was really kind of his range of where he was at. So we were obviously bumping heads on stuff. And I remember he came in with that famous Cure shirt on that had where he's got his hands up in his hair, he's holding his face or his head. He had that one on, and we used to give him heck about it. I never was a Cure fan, but you got to give him credit. Of course, this was Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, a double album, and they say an electric masterpiece. I've never had it. I've never listened to it. But they're still around, and they just they just go in the Hall of Fame or recently, still out there, still going. The Cure. Bruce Springsteen was bigger in those days. I'm not a fan of the Boss at all. He's got a few tunes that I think are cool. Tunnel of Love is okay. This is a follow up to the Born in the USA album. He was it was the 80s polished look. He got in a little bit. It was a little different than the gritty 70s, and his recordings changed the way they produced them, which a lot of bands did. A lot of solo artists did. Much more slicked up, smoothed out. It was just different decade. But Bruce was very big at the time, and some would say still is, but I'm not a fan. Dinosaur Jr. is in this list. I don't even remember them. Obviously, I don't know who they are. If y'all know who Dinosaur Jr. is, God bless you. I don't know who they are. A group I do know a lot about, I've been a longtime fan, even back to their blues days, was and is Fleetwood Mac. They released Tango in the Night. As we were coming back today, Tell Me Lies came on the radio, and it stands up to the test of time. I never was a fan either, broski. Never. He said, just like Heaven, Love Song, In Between Days, Close to Me, great songs by The Cure. Shall I listen to those? Well, maybe. I'm willing to gamble. I don't know why. Just maybe I saw the shirt and I was like, I just can't. I was really into really rocking back then more. I mean, I liked a lot of styles of music, but I'm not sure. But if Broski says it, I have to give it a little credence. Fleetwood Mac, they had the huge rumors, and they followed up, and the next album, double album, didn't do as well, even though it sold 3 million albums plus, I believe, to this day. Lindsay leaves, and then he comes back, and they produced this song. A lot of drama in the band, and I guess it's forever has been drama with them, but they produced a lot of great music. And on the way back today, and I didn't even decide to do this till I got back home. Like I said, Fleetwood Mac came on. So a lot of these groups were represented on music I was listening to as I came back. Some other strong contenders from '87, which is, I think it's, I'm not a huge Pink Floyd fan, but Momentary Lapse of Reason is a great album. And I saw them, I think I saw them on that concert tour, but I don't remember for sure, but I think so. I saw Pink Floyd at, don't tell Dean I said this, Georgia Tech Stadium. It was an outdoor show, cold, great show. I really didn't know if I was going to like it or not because I'm not a huge Pink Floyd fan, except for Dark Side of the Moon, great album. But this was a really good show, and I enjoyed it. Let's see, Heart. I was a big fan of Heart growing up. They got a little love songish, polished. Got in that video craze in the 80s. What was that horrible song that they had in the 80s? I mean, it's absolutely horrible. Oh my gosh. They I don't even know if they even play that song in concert, and they are on tour. In fact, I've heard they've got an album coming out that's supposed to be really good. I'm not a fan of them, some of their attitudes and stuff, but I'm a fan of their music. Um, I'll just let that lay there. And I don't like, I don't know. Anne's sort of weird. She's weird. She married a weird dude. Um, but the sisters broke up. They're back together making music. John Mellencamp. Liked his early stuff. He started getting a little wild in his top of, again, a lot of them did. It was the time, sign of the times. Some of his music really got, I just didn't care for it. The Lonesome Jubilee, very recognizable. He had videos all over MTV still, but I like the earlier stuff, and I really didn't care for what he did after that. This would be about the borderline for me. Then after that, I really didn't care for what he did. Let's see, Broski, were you a fan of the Butthole Surfers? Because I absolutely was not. I couldn't tell you one song they have. When they played them on MTV, I turned the channel. I'm not a fan. I don't like the name of the album. I'm not even going to repeat it. And that's that. But I am going to mention it because they were big around that time. They were big. I don't know where they're at today. I don't know if they're still butthole surfing. I don't like the name. I just don't like it. That's me. You're welcome to have your own opinion. This is America. Love it. Jane's Addiction. Nothing shocking. It really came out late in 87, early 88, but it's really kind of a link to 87. But that's me. You want to push me away? Put a name like that on a band and I'm out. I went, what? No way. I saw one video because I was at a dude's house and he had it going. I'm like, could you turn that? Like, I hate it. And I think he did. He's like, it's just on. I don't like it, but they got to have a following. Somebody bought the albums. Jane's Addiction, really sad too how that's kind of ended up. Forever different. Suzanne Vega had a solo album around this time. Oh, no, Suzanne Vega. I'm thinking somebody else. Suzanne Vega had the album Solitude Standing, Luca Fame. Not a fan. Not putting it down. New Order had a big album that year. And probably the album, if you go down the list of best-selling albums for 87 globally, they tend to have them in this order. And it depends. Certain lists will flip them around, but these are the biggest. Michael Jackson's Bad. One you don't think of because it's not from a band, it's from a movie, and it's still huge. The Dirty Dancing soundtrack. Huge movie, stands up to time. People love that stuff. They love that music. And they're having a movie. They're making a new Dirty Dancing sequel or whatever. Dirty Dancing soundtrack. The songs are all over the place. Absolutely made a lot of money off of that. Of course, Guns with Appetite, Faith, George Michael, and Def Leppard, Hysteria. Those rocked the year. An amazing year of music. And that's just scratching the surface. There were a lot of albums. I'm sure I would find stuff that I liked. Hello, Dean Potts. Snuck in there on me. There's a lot of other music I would have liked around 87. But it's more like 84, 85, 86. There were some good releases coming out. Like I think Boston's album, Third Stage, came out around that time. There's so many bands I can think of. Billy Idol was really doing good. Def Leppard at 83, but then all the way up, there was Gap till 87, but 83, Pyromania. So there was some good stuff. There's some bad stuff too. I mean, bad. But 87, 88, 89, 90, and 91 was really the heyday for a lot of great albums and music. And 87 for me really kind of kicked that off. 88, we'll look at it next time. Good stuff, but 89 really good. But 91 was the other one. 91 was massive because you had, again, Guns N' Roses finally got, Use Your Illusion out 1 and 2. And there were a lot of other big names that came out. So we'll look at those. But by 87, I was married. My son was born in 86. So here I am, a young married guy with a son and working hard, a lot of hours, love music. My girlfriend, we got married in 86. When I met her in 84, she had just bought a new stereo system. See how things work out? She had just bought it. It was from, oh man, they overpaid, but Radio Shack, a big system. Oh my goodness. Here I am. I've got a little, I don't remember where it came from. I think mine came from Kmart or something. It was okay. It wasn't bad. But man, when I saw hers, I was like, yeah. I was 21, man, when I got married. So my wife was 24, by the way. So she's still at home. Their dad had died, and they all just really. Dean says he quit rock and roll in 90. Well, you can't quit in 90 because 91 was good. All the way up to about 92, Dean. About 92. But 91, if you quit in 90, you miss a lot of good music, Dean. Come on, man. You need to go look at the music for 91. You're going to have to move that a little bit. And there was some good stuff in the mid-90s, even with all the crap going on. I always did like some bands because they were still rocking. I just didn't like some of that other stuff, meaning grunge. You know what? My biggest problem with grunge was it wasn't really the music. Some of it was different. It was more rhythm and it was lead guitars. It was the depressed state of music. I mean, it was like everybody was depressed. That's when everybody started wearing plaid and flannel and, going around like they've lost their best friend. There wasn't, he's on Rumble. I run 2 Rumble channels, broski. Most nights I run 2 Rumble channels. He is on SF Podcasting, where you are on Southern Patriots Podcast. I don't know how many do that, but I run 2 channels. Double your trouble. I do that on 3 different platforms. I run double channels. It's there. I put it out there. So I do that. But I did like, some things by Alice in Chains and some of the others, but man, some of that music, Candlebox. I like the little Candlebox back in the day, as you got into. We'll look at 91 the next time, and we're going to continue to look at the bands. We'll look at the bands, and we'll continue to do the 3 albums from Dave's Vault. For those that didn't see, because you might not have been here at the time, this is from Dave's Vault. This is what I previewed tonight or showed. And this is funny because I didn't see any of these guys in concert. But AC/DC, not a great album cover. Blow up your video. That album, not good. Sorry, not sorry. Number 2 I highlighted tonight was, yes, Billy Idol. Great album, Rebel Yell. And one of my favorite guitarists, Steve Stevens. Still rocking. Daryl says, I'm sorry I can't tribute. I'm a 70s and mid-80s. Well, we'll come back. We're going to go back and look at other years as well. And, of course, Van Halen album. This was a promotional album for record stores or radio stations. But Mean Street, what everybody knows on that. Not a great album cover. I said that to me, but they should have put this picture on the album cover. Much better than the album cover. Well, look at that 80s look. Big hair, right? Oh, what year did that come out? 81? What was that? They got into big hair. What year was that? I don't remember. If somebody knows, 81. I nailed it. 81. But they were fighting against, that was that new wave music and all that coming in. Flock of Seagulls and all that stuff was flying in. Not one of their best, I don't think. You may love it. I'm not a huge fan of that one, but I do like Van Halen and always have. But I can remember going and buying the 84 album, though. Somewhere I have that. Somewhere I still have that. Dean Potts. You're going to like this, broski. Dean likes Kiss. We'll talk some Kiss. We'll do it. Yes. Yes. It was you know why, Daryl? They ran out of ideas. Bond's songwriting book. They pulled every idea they could get out of it, and it took them all the way to Thunderstruck to have a decent album. That was a decent album, Razor's Edge or whatever. Thunderstruck and all that. It was a good album. It was like a blip. There were some okay ones, but the 80s, horrible for most part for AC/DC. Horrible. I mean, of course, they had 80. I get all that. But in the middle of that decade, it got bad. I mean, bad. Criminal. People just would go see them, though, because they like them on stage. And it just wasn't a good decade for them. But then later, they kind of redeemed themselves a little bit. Like I said, Dean Broski says he's disappointed in you. Who's your favorite member of Kiss, Dean? Who's your favorite? I bet he's gonna say Gene Simmons. I bet he does. Oh, I love doing the music show. I love talking music, all kinds of music. I was going to pull it tonight, but when I pulled these, I'm going to be pulling different genres of music. I flipped through a couple. I said, not tonight. But for different genres from country to disco. Yeah, I've got some disco stuff in my collection. I've got all kinds of music. But some of the ones we have in the collection are from my wife. Yes, I said that early in the show. He was my there was just something about Bond. I don't, it's, ever so often somebody comes along that I knew you was going to say Gene Simmons' name. So there you go, broski. And I can't put it on screen from this channel, so I'd have to copy it and all that. So I'm just telling you what he says. But ever so often there's somebody that comes along. It's just different. They're different on stage, how they carry themselves. And it's really hard. You'll just never see anybody like that again. And I was a big fan of Bon Scott. If I ever went to Australia, I'm going to visit two places for sure. His grave and down, I think it's Adelaide or somewhere where they got the statue of Bond. I'm going to his grave and I'm going to that statue just to pay my respects at those places. I really, really, really liked Bon Scott. So last week I showed the Dirty Deeds album. Great album. This album, pancake, man. Syrup. Sorry. They got lazy. They got really lazy. Some of those songs on the 80s albums are so bad, I'm not even going to repeat them. Listen, I know the double entendre of AC/DC, but Bond always had a way to write that was almost poetry. Honestly, poetry. They never had that after that. It was just straight on filth, to be honest. Bond always alluded to it, but he knew how to do it in such a way that it came across different. After that, they just went straight on. It's like Kiss, some of that stuff. The 80s Kiss, for the most part, was really bad. Come on, Dean, you got to admit. Mom says, what about the Monkees and the Stones? Well, we were covering tonight 1987, and I don't remember if the Stones had a release in 87, so we were talking about them or that year of music. I did a little something different tonight. And showing the albums. Broski's a big fan of Soundgarden, Stone Temple Pilots, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, The Smashing Pumpkins, etc., etc. It's just I can't listen to a band called that. I don't care what they're about. You put a name like that on, you name your band that, you've told me everything I need to know. I mean, really. And by the way, on your list, broski, I'm not big Smashing Pumpkins fan. The others, yeah, okay. I do like the talk show that the dude has now. What's his name? Billy Corgan, is that his name? I do like that talk show. He had on some really good artists lately. I don't know what it plays on, but I've caught the videos. He does a good job of that. I'll give him that. Not a big fan, just saying those were the grunge bands, but I like those bands. I mean, I wouldn't say I like everything. Yeah, big fan. I'm not saying I like everything they did. I did like Soundgarden a lot. There's about 5 or 6 songs of STP that I really like. Not a big fan of Nirvana either. Pearl Jam, about 4 songs. You can have the rest for me. Alice in Chains quite a bit. I saw Alice in Chains of all those bands. Only saw Alice in Chains. I saw them open up in Knoxville, Tennessee. Actually, the Suicide. I'm not a fan. Suicidal Tendencies opened up. Alice in Chains was next. Dude was in a wheelchair, hurt his ankle or something or foot, and then Ozzy. I did see Ozzy. I didn't see Black Sabbath, but I seen Ozzy. What a crazy night! And I bumped into Soundgarden's guitarist at that show. Like he bumped into me, like, hey, oh, hey. He wanted to see Zach. I guess they were playing somewhere in maybe the next night or something like that, and he come out to see Zach Wild. So I'm over there on the side with all these guitarists. It's obvious they're all guitarists. Just watching everything Zach does. I'm a fan of his guitars, but I don't really play guitar. But hey, I listened to the Stones today, Waiting for a Friend. Love that song. Love that song. So yeah, Monkeys, you know what they have? A couple of good songs. Hey, we're the Monkeys. There's another one, but I can't remember the name of it. But hey, we're the Monkeys. I can see Little Dean singing that song. Hey, we're the Monkeys. I think that's funny. So it is the end of the show. I love this. Just flies by. Next week we'll pick another year, and we'll pick a band too. And we'll try to squeeze all that in as we can. And we'll talk about a band. We'll talk about the 3 albums from the vault. See, I got my vault too, Dean. I got the album vault. And we'll talk about what year you want to cover. Let's see. We got I've only covered 87. Oh yeah, Daryl, I knew we had similar taste. I will close with this. When you're Broski, that's bad. Let me tell you about Queensryche. So I didn't know them on their first album. Def Leppard introduced me to a lot of bands. Queensryche was one of them. I saw Queensryche with Leppard here in Chattanooga. And it's like, I always listen. If I don't know the band, I'll listen to them. And when I first heard them, I was like, okay, there's some stuff there I like. But this is before the Empire album came out. I'm almost certain it would come out that year. But they were playing Operation Mindcrime, obviously, and their first album. And I was like, okay. So when I ordered the 12 albums, I told you I ordered Queensryche, I believe, was in that mix too. The second time I saw Queensryche was in Chattanooga as well. And by that time, that was the Empire tour. So they went from opening to headlining. I don't remember who opened for Queensryche in Chattanooga. I want to tell you, though, it was oh my goodness. That whole night was good, not good. I'll have to cover that story. It was a very emotional night for me, very spiritual night, not Queensryche. I really had great respect for, you want to do 1985, we'll do it, bud. I actually almost chose that year anyway, because there's some stuff there that I like. I don't know if did you see them when they came on the Empire tour in Chattanooga, Daryl? Did you see that? I had a long conversation with a guy holding a cross in front of the arena that evening. And it was a very moving conversation. And you got to remember, I was in church. I'd been saved, but I was married. My wife was with me. It was the only one that went. I had a coworker that was at the show. I didn't know that. And I went in, and I almost, this is honest truth, I really wish I hadn't, because I felt like I was not supposed to. But I think you're right, man. I think you're right. I can't remember. So I go into the show, and while the opening band, I missed a lot of the opening band. So I have this long conversation outside. The guy's pleading with me not to go in. I'm kind of torn in my spiritual side. I'm like, oh, just going to see some music, man. I'm not drinking or doing anything like that. I got sick as a dog. Sick as a dog. I told my wife, I said, I'm sick. I'm bad sick. So while the opening band's playing, just about the whole opening act, I was in the bathroom throwing up. Truth. Solid truth. And when I came back, My wife was like, "You look bad." That's like, I feel bad. But here's the thing about it. I didn't have a virus or nothing. I just got spiritually sick. It was like a well, it was honestly it was demonic oppression. I'll tell you, that's what it was. That was a changing point for me. So when I watched the show, it was a good show. I like some of the stuff they did with the images behind. Like there's one scene where Jeff Tate like jumps towards the screen. You remember that, Daryl? And it's like he's jumping, like it's him going towards himself, crazy, and then he goes like down. That was amazing how they did that. They played the entirety of Operation Mindcrime, if I remember right, and then played Empire Hits. Really good show, but I was okay by the time they hit the stage. I was okay. I mean, I was bad sick. I mean, bad. Like I had a guy in the bathroom saying, "Do I need to get help for you, man? Are you okay?" And I'm like, I don't know. It was amazing, and I just felt like I went against what I was supposed to do that night. And I told my wife, I said, I should have never came here. So it was just a weird, I'm saying it's weird. It's just spiritual. So, I get it. People gonna say I shouldn't listen to any kind of music or whatever. And but there's some shows I've regretted going to, others I've really liked. I'm not into bad images and stuff like that. I never was, never did like that. Well, maybe, I don't know, man. Like I said, but they do put on a good show. Self exorcism. Well, I don't. They were so progressive. I'll tell you though, I got sick as a dog. I mean, I spent 20 minutes out front talking to this guy holding a cross, a heavy wooden cross. Heavy. Man, it touched me, man. God was speaking to me. Amazing, but it was a good show. It was a clean show. There wasn't nothing going on. They just played some music. I did like them. The original band was really good. There's only two members of the original band left. That's the bass player and one of the guitarists. The others are all gone, and they'll never be back together. Scott Rockenfeld has been gone for a long time. Once he's gone, it just ain't the same. They've got a good top band now. The singer, I saw the song of theirs the other day. Really good stuff. I've listened to some of his stuff. He's really good. Um, I understand, brother. I understand. I didn't go to that, but I understand. It's like, should I go in? Should I not? The last time that happened to me was Metallica, and I never went to another rock show. That was it. That was it for me. That was a horrible night. Everything went wrong. Bad. Battered, beat up. Not physically, spiritually, man. I was like, what am I doing here? I left midway through the Metallica show, went home. It was in Nashville, Tennessee. I've never been back to another any kind of show except some gospel. That was it. So I go to the mid 90s and then I've never been back. So, but I still have my memories and I still like some music. Always like music, and it's part of my childhood. It's part of. So, and I use it in different ways for witnessing too. So you can kind of touch people or get to people. They'll talk about it. But there's some bands that's out today that I think they're really good. They're making a. I need to turn that off. I'm sorry, that went off and acting silly. I'm fixing to leave anyway. But there's some really good bands that came out. I think it's kind of coming back around. It goes through stages and cycles. It always does. Music always goes through cycles. But a lot of the music for the last decade or so has been really bad. Maybe 20 years. Bad. There's nothing in it. I mean, it's like AI ripoff rock or something. I mean, it's just not good. There's a few exceptions. My opinion. Again, all this is my opinion. Everybody's got an opinion. So that's it. 1987 and 3 albums from Dave's Vault. Thanks. Have a great night. I'm going to go up and spend some time with my wife before we go to bed. I'll see you in the morning on the Cornbread Man morning show in the morning, probably be around 6. Next 2 days will probably be earlier than that. Thursday and Friday will probably be 5:30ish because I have different things going on. And so I got to get up earlier. Tomorrow, what do we got on tap? Well, I got the morning show tomorrow night. I'm not sure yet. We'll see. Just news and notes real quick. Right, dude. Right. And I'm okay with opinions. You know my saying on that. It's your opinion. I'm not going to go against it. Just don't attack the host. That's all I care about. You can debate me. Just don't come against me. I don't like that. Or get personal or beat up on people in the chat. Be good to them. I love you too, man. Big news. First of all, I don't know if you're out there still, Brent, but we've been kind of, we have our own coffee and we do use some Dubby, but, we've been big friends. I just got these in today, Horsepower coffee. And this is their first energy drink, Kickin' Strawberry. I got some of these in. We're going to get them cold. We're going to live taste test them the next racing show. So y'all look them up on Facebook, Horsepower Coffee and their energy drink. We got some coffee coming in from them too. And we may just do some racing stuff with that. And we're going to, me, Dean, and probably Biscuit Boy will live taste that on the air. Maybe Brent can come up with us. So that's coming up. Remember Miss Jessica Powell, who was the female race car driver, dirt track driver from Canada, her and her fiance. He was on Monday night. She was on Tuesday night. She's going to be coming back on. I got to finalize the date with her. She's just did something amazing. We're going to have her up. She, one of the tracks she's at, she's the first female to ever win any race in any class at that racetrack. She's going to be coming up with us by the end of the month. Next week, hopefully. Hopefully we can arrange it for next week. We got more interviews coming. We're trying to work on a couple of really big interviews in the racing world. We're waiting to see. I've had to submit some information. You get up in high enough level, they start asking you for a lot of goods and stuff. So we're trying. We're the little podcast that can. So we're trying to get there. Thursday night, we're going to tape it. I don't know if we can release it. Miss Suzanne, she's an amazing guitarist, singer, songwriter. I've told you about that. It won't be live. It's going to be taped, and then we'll release it as soon as her album pops. I will find out from her this week, so I kind of know. I have an author coming on for the Wolf Nation Book Club that has wrote a book about the trial of Buford Pusser. He's going to be coming on. And believe it or not, there's some idiot out there that contacted him that said that I didn't want him on my show. Never met this dude. I'm not going to use his name. I might call him out in the show, though. Dude, I never talked to you. Only reason I think he even knew about me was I popped a couple things in some chats, some replies, and I think he watches this guy like a hawk. They're on opposite sides. Guy said that I trashed this guy. No, I did not. I never talked to this guy. But anyway, we'll be having him come on. And there's a couple other things out there. We're working it. So we're trying to get as much things on as we can. We got tons of interviews coming. I'm telling you. I can see a day in the future when the racing hour will be, it's already multiple days a week. Dean's out there, the chaser. You beat up on me when you're there. Well, you try bringing those Donica Patrick bath toys in. You were 16 in 1985? 16. Christine, 16. You do a great job, man. You do a great job. You got to go back to work tomorrow. God, it was something else I was going to say. I can't remember what it was now. Anyway, Biscuit Boy will be back in the house Thursday night. We'll do the two shows, Wolf Nation, Cornbread Nation, and then Friday night. I think we got an interview Friday night, right, Dean? Isn't that Friday night? We got an interview. I believe we do this week. If not this week, it's in a couple of weeks. I can't. We have to write them down and put them in our scheduler. We got so many. I'm blessed. We're scheduling into April, folks. Into April on interviews. God's been good to us. We appreciate all of our partners out there that's coming on with us, and they're part of our family now. I can't say enough good things about them. They're all been a blessing, and they're truly great people, and they're as much, big, huge blessings to us, and we're trying to be back. We went into it trying to bless them, and they've just been these really, you 16 in 87. Okay. I was 22 in 87 with Jeremy was just a little boy. In 86, though, I lost my best friend to murder. That was a major time for me. Music always touched me really hard, especially in 87. That's why I remember that date of music so much. That year was because of things that happened in my life: marriage, son, the murder of my best friend, lots of stuff going on in my life. So kind of like now, lots of things going on. Daryl could say the same thing. Lots of things going on. Yes, Friday and Saturday. Yeah, we're rocking 2 more interview days coming up. Yeah. And he booked 6 or 7 in the last 3 days. They were trying to get 2 more. One of those is a double interview. Started out as a single, went to a double. Because when they see you, hey, I want on. That's great. Have a great night. It is 10 o'clock, 10:14 Eastern Standard Time. And at 11, they always ask in our days when we were young, do you know where your kids are? I know where mine's at. And grandkids. And my grandkids here, she's not feeling too good. So I'll pray for her. She's having not a good night. Um, she's kind of sick. So she'll veg up in her room, get to feeling better. I think she ate something that didn't agree with her. I don't think it's sickness. She ate something from up there from a little store, and I think that stuff made her feel bad. Hopefully it will go away very quickly. So, not to ruin your night with that thought, but just being honest, that's where it's at. All right, we're out of here, and let's go out with some music and enjoy the sound show, the stage show, the sound stage show. It's a lot of fun. A lot of fun to look back, look now, look forward. There's some music coming. Like Guns N' Roses has a new album coming. Def Leppard's got, I think, a whole album coming. There's talk that maybe Rush will release a few things with the new drummer. Possibilities out there. I've heard them talk about it. There's many others that have talked about releasing some new music. So this might be the last hurrah for some of those classic bands that we like. Anyway, good night. God bless. And we'll see you in the morning. Be safe.
Southern Fray! Live from the shed!